If I had €1 for every time somebody asked me, what's that device on my dog's collar, I could afford to build my dogs the luxury rooms that they clearly deserve. In reality, this is a dog GPS tracker that they have permanently on their collars. It's a little device that allows me to see on my smartphone where my dogs are located. And so today let's talk exactly about that. What are dog GPS trackers and do you need one? GPS tracker is not a training device. It will not help your dog to have a better recall. It won't help your dogs in any sort of emergency situations. The sole purpose of the dog GPS tracker is for you to be able to locate your dog if there is some sort of emergency or if something happened or like whatever. But actually, mostly for me, the purpose of dog GPS trackers are actually simply keep me confident, keep my peace of mind, and just like relieve a little bit my anxiety and my paranoid tendencies where I imagine that, oh my god, something completely terrible will happen to my dogs, and I do that every day. But this little device that gives me the confidence that, well, if something happened, if some human was irresponsible with my dogs, or if there was some sort of accident or whatever, I could look at my phone and I could find my dogs as long as they have this GPS device on their collars and it's turned on. The one I'm using is Tractive. I've been using that for 4 years, and this video is in no way sponsored by Tractive. It's a device that I've been buying and I pay for the subscription fee. But of course there are other brands out there who are also making dog GPS trackers, and I urge you to do your own research and find the device that suits you better or that's maybe more available to you. Tractive is simply the one that works best for me, but just keep in mind that when you're looking for your own GPS device, avoid any sort of devices that claim to be GPS but are actually using Bluetooth. You just keep scrolling in the description of those devices and they start mentioning like, oh yeah, you have to have other Bluetooth users in the area, and then via Bluetooth your GPS tracker will connect with it. No, that's not GPS tracker, that's a Bluetooth, and it won't work when you're outside in the forest or hiking in the mountains with your dogs. That's completely not usable for you. And also check that the device is waterproof, because they go through a lot. In those 4 years since I've had this device, I actually have had only 2 or maybe 3 situations where I really needed to use the data from the device to actually find my dogs. And those situations actually have been very different from each other. Like they have been like in different situations and have happened for different reasons. Like one time I was just hiking with Mio in a forest, and at some point I realized that okay, for a moment there I haven't seen Mio, and I started calling her and I got absolutely no response, like no barking, no little small dog running at me being all happy, So I opened the app and I start walking in the direction that my GPS tracker is showing me where the Mio is. And I realized that, well, the GPS tracker is showing me that Mio is standing still, because it also shows you like at what speed your dog is running, in what direction, and so actually from that data already I can understand like what's happening. And so, well, I see on my GPS that Mio is standing still, and I already have my suspicions of what has happened. And so I keep walking, but I still keep walking on the trail. And then I realized that, well, if I want to find Mio, I have to step off the trail, because I'm seeing on the map that she's quite off from the trail, like I don't know, 100, 200 meters, I don't remember how far it was. And so I have to wade through all that forest growth and everything. And then I find Mio, and she had found a dead animal in the forest and she was eating it. And obviously she's not going to come to me in that situation, and I don't know like how much time it would have taken me to find Mio if I hadn't had the GPS tracker, because, well, she wasn't responding and I don't know how long she would have been there. Another completely different situation happened when we were staying at the countryside of my husband's. There's the house. And we were just going for hikes there, and then we were staying the night, and another day another people joined us. And because I'm paranoid, when those people arrived at the house, I already had put my dog's collars on with GPS. Even though we weren't planning to go outside, the dogs were simply staying in the house. But well, I'm paranoid, and in that occasion, I'm really and in that occasion, I'm really grateful for that beautiful character trait. Not. So what happened was, someone by accident let my dogs outside of the house, and there is no fenced yard outside or anything. It's just straight into the forest or meadows, and nobody told me. And so there, I don't know. I don't know. It was maybe like 5 or 10 minutes later when I realized that, okay, I don't have my dogs in the house. What the actual heck? And so I go outside, I see that, yeah, this person is yelling at my dogs to come back, which is not super helpful. And also my dogs are in this freedom state of mind where they're just happy to be free and run free. And obviously they're not going to come back to that person. I take my phone, I open the app, I check the data, and I go looking for my dogs, because at that point they were already somewhere like farther away, we couldn't even see them. And I'm really grateful in that occasion that I had the GPS tracker, because they run in a completely different directions than I would have expected. And so if I didn't have the GPS, I would have looked for them in a completely different place, and it would have taken a lot of nerves and time and worrying to actually find them and wait for them to come back. And oh my god, I just don't want to imagine all that situation. As to which dogs would benefit most from having that device, well, of course, if you have a herding type of dog who never leaves you, maybe you don't really need that, because you're really confident that, well, you can always see your dog always stays with you, your dog is not prone to running away. Although there are always some sort of exceptions, and I'm absolutely not judging anyone who has a GPS tracker on their dogs, and it's not a shameful thing somehow, and it doesn't reflect on you that, oh, you are a bad trainer. It's simply that, well, some people have more use for that and some people have less use for that. And even though like accidents can happen to absolutely anyone, even to your most obedient, superb dog that basically never leaves you, there are things that can happen. But of course I realize that in those situations, like, maybe you're not really interested in having dog GPS tracker, because, well, for that one chance in a lifetime, maybe not worth it for you. But in my case, I have a sighthound and I have a terrier, and well, those are dogs that, even though they have a really good recall and I'm working my ass off with them, well, it's more beneficial for me to have the GPS tracker, because, well, some weirdo stuff can really happen. And so if you're in that situation where you have a dog that is maybe harder to train the recall, or that's maybe more interested in sniffing around, or maybe if he doesn't see you, he doesn't have that good of a recall, or if you're hiking in the areas where there's much more wildlife, like to the point where you're at that balance where you're still safe enough to hike off leash, but there is still that wildlife, maybe in those occasions it would be beneficial to have even border collies to have GPS trackers. And that's a decision that you have to make. Few drawbacks of the GPS trackers are, of course, that it won't work if it's not on your dog. And you know, if I'm just staying in the house, chilling, and I'm not expecting to go anywhere, I don't ask my dogs to wear collars and GPS trackers every day. So if something happened right now, then yeah, they wouldn't have it. But like, that's not exactly a drawback of the GPS tracker. It's just simply like logistics about wearing them. Editing speaking right here. As I'm making this video, I'm realizing that I forgot to talk about the drawbacks, so let's do it right now. So one thing that I wanted to mention is that if you want to use a GPS device, you can only use like those types of collars, like either with this type of buckle or with a clip-on, but you can't use a martingale because the GPS tracker on itself will weigh down the martingale and you won't be able to use it properly. And of course, as is the case with any sort of device, They can get a bit expensive, or maybe the upkeep tend to be expensive, and it's a little bit upsetting if they broke down. Like, it has happened only once with me that the attractive would break down, and then we anyway wanted to get this like a second type of attractive. But yeah, it's not like you just walk in the grocery store and buy this for $5. It is a device that costs something. Also, Lamora came here to say hi. Those trackers are always on my dog's collar, so every time they get a collar on, they also have a GPS tracker on, and I make sure to turn it on, so whenever we're going hiking or off-leash walks, they have it on. Also, if we are staying in like Airbnbs, or if we are staying with like friends or family, so even if there's a completely fenced-in yard, I'll still put the GPS trackers on my dogs, so if anything happens, I know where they are. And also, if I leave my dogs with my friends to pet sit, even though they have a completely fenced-in yard, I still ask my friends for my dogs to wear the collars and the GPS trackers all day, or whenever they go outside in the yard, simply for my peace of mind and for their peace of mind, and it works really nicely. Thank you for watching this video till the end. I really appreciate your support, and if you would like to reinforce my video making habits, please like this video, and I'll see you next week.